Hey guys, in today's video, I'm gonna be talking about Tigreal, one of the oldest and strongest tanks in the game. And I will also discuss how Tigreal works in full details, which includes his skills, passive, combo, builds, along with some tips and tricks on how to use him in a match. So let's get started with the video. Tigreal is the king of the Monian Knights in the lore, and he is also the first tank hero you will get when downloading the game. And in the current meta, he's one of the most picked heroes in Mythic rank and above. What makes him so special is that he has multiple crowd control skills, and a passive ability that lets him absorb damage. Furthermore, his ultimate is one of the most game-changing initiation skills in the game, and he can be quite tough to use, especially if you don't know how to use his skills properly. So, in order to master him, you must understand how his skills and passive works, so let's start with his passive. With the help of his passive, Tigreal gains a stack of blessing each time he casts a skill or is hit by a basic attack. And at 4 stacks, he will consume all the stacks to block the next incoming attack, which includes turret damage as well, meaning you will not receive any damage once you have 4 stacks of his passive. To know the amount of stacks you have, there is an indicator above his head showing the number of stacks he have. Once you have all 4 stacks, the logo above his head will glow. A stack of blessing lasts for several seconds. However, at full stacks, the blessing remains until he absorbs a basic attack. But he doesn't gain stacks from minion attacks and doesn't absorb them as well. But jungle monsters, including the Turtle Lord and turrets, can trigger the passive. The icon of his passive might be different when using different skins, and remember that you can also gain stacks by casting your skills, which is really useful when playing against heroes that can one-shot you. So I'd recommend maxing out your stacks before going into a teamfight. Now, let's talk about his first skill. With the help of his first skill, Tigreal sends a shockwave in the target direction, dealing 270 physical damage to enemies in a fan-shaped area and also slowing them by 60% for 1.5 seconds. The slow effect scales with the shockwave's travel distance, and each one of the 3 shockwaves applies a slowing effect that can get stacked. And even though it can't deal a lot of damage, its slow effects are still useful, especially when chasing an enemy. Now, let's talk about his second skill. With the help of his second skill, you can push the enemies towards a target location, dealing physical damage on the way, and once you finish pushing them, you can use this skill again to knock enemies in the air for 1.5 seconds. Remember that this is your bread and butter skill, and this skill is what makes Tigreal so annoying, so you should prioritize maxing out this skill first. During the start of the game, unlock your second skill first, and you can then use it to go and delay the enemy's jungler farm, by pushing out their buff and resetting it. And if an enemy is chasing you while your HP is low, run towards the turret, and wait for the enemy to come near the turret, so that you can push him inside the turret, and possibly securing a kill if they don't have any dash skills. You can also use this skill to push the enemies away if your teammates are in low HP. Now, let's talk about his ultimate skill. With the help of his ultimate, Tigreal will start channeling his ult, and it will slowly pull the nearby enemies towards him, and once they get pulled in the middle, it will then stun them, dealing 270 physical damage. And before using this skill, you must know that enemies can escape the pulling effect of the ultimate using blink or dash abilities. And the skill's cooldown starts after the channeling, and when it gets interrupted, it doesn't go on cooldown, so you can use it again. Since the enemies can escape the pulling effect of your ultimate, you can combo his ultimate with Flicker, allowing you to catch the enemies off guard. But if you're new to Tigreal, doing the combo might be hard for you, so let's talk about how to use his combo. In total, there are 4 combos you can do with Tigreal, and 2 combos without Flicker, and other 2 combos with the help of Flicker. So let's start with the first combo. For the first combo, use your second skill to push the enemies, and then use your ultimate right after pushing the enemies with your second skill, and after using your ultimate, you will then use the second phase of your second skill to knock them up in the air, giving your teammates an opening to land their skills. And for the second combo, use your ultimate first, and after using your ultimate, you will then push the enemies with your second skill, followed by the second phase of your skill. These are the combos you can do without flicker. Now let's check out the combos you can do with flicker. For the first combo, use your second skill while you are still far away from the enemies, and you will then use flicker to hit the enemies with your second skill, followed by your ultimate, and then your second skill again to knock them up in the air. And for the second combo, use your ultimate first, and then you will use your flicker right before the ultimate ends, allowing you to stun the enemies before they can even react, and you will then follow it up by his second skill. Now, let's talk about his builds and items. When building defensive items as Tigreal, it's important to know which items you should buy. For his boots, go for tough boots. And for his first item, go for Dominance Ice. Dominance Ice will reduce the attack speed of the enemies by 70%, and it will also reduce their shield and healing effects by 50%. Remember that Dominance Ice is a must-buy item when using a tank. And for his second item, go for Athena's Shield. It will provide you with a shield and 25% magic damage reduction when taking damage. And for his third item, go for Antique Cuirass. This will reduce the physical damage of enemies whenever they use their skills on you. And for his fourth item, go for Immortality. Immortality will give you a second life, which is really useful when playing a tank. And for his last item, if there are more than 3 enemies that can deal magic damage, then go for Radiant Armor. But if there are more enemies that can deal physical damage, then go for Blade Armor. And for his roaming spell, go for Conceal. Now, let's talk about his emblems and talents. For his emblem, go for the Tank Emblem. It will provide you with plus 500 HP, plus 10 hybrid defense, and plus 4 hybrid regen. And for his first talent, go for Agility. It will provide you with 4% extra movement speed, which is very useful when playing as a tank, as you constantly have to rotate around the map. And for his second talent, go for Pull Yourself Together. This will reduce the cooldown of your flicker and other equipments by 15%. And for his core talent, go for Concussive Blast. This will deal 100 magic damage to nearby enemies every time you use your basic attack. Now, let's talk about how to use him in a match. During the early game, most people usually start by helping their marksman. But in the higher rank, people start by helping their jungler, and then rotating to the marksman lane. But if you're using Tigreal, you can easily invade the enemy's jungler and delay his buff. And unlike Franco, you have a higher chance of delaying the enemy's buff using Tigreal. And after delaying the farm of enemy's jungler, check the map and see if your side laners are struggling. And if you see them struggling, then go rotate to their lane. But make sure not to overstay in a lane, and after helping out your marksman, make sure to rotate to the turtle lane, so that you can help your jungler contest the turtle. But if you have a noob jungler like me, then there's honestly no point in invading and contesting the turtle. As you can see, I invaded the enemy's jungler in the early game, and I also helped contest the turtle, but our jungler was inexperienced, so we kept losing despite setting up everything for them. And if you ever find yourself in a situation like this, try to analyze and see who's the best player in your team. And in my case, our mage was the best player, so I'm gonna try my best to keep supporting her, all while rotating and helping out the other lanes as well. So, your early game objectives are invading the enemy's buff, rotating to the marksman lane, and helping your jungler take the turtle. Now, let's talk about his mid-game. During the mid-game, you must start rotating with your mage. Mages are usually very squishy and easy to kill, but they are the main damage dealers on your team, so try rotating with your mage, and always stay in front of your mage, so that it will be harder for the enemies to kill your mage. And before you join a teamfight, try to take hits from jungle monsters to activate your passive. And don't be afraid to turret dive once you reach level 4, especially if you have full stacks of your passive. And always wait for the perfect moment to use your ultimate, especially during a team fight. Wait for the enemies to stay together, and once you see the enemies together in one place, use your flicker and ultimate combo. And if you land your combo successfully, the whole enemy team will be wiped out. Now, let's talk about his late game. During the late game, your top priority should be protecting your mage and marksman, and before you use your ultimate, always check if your teammates are near you, so that they will be able to follow up with your ultimate. But if you don't see your teammates near you, then it's better to save your ultimate still. And during the late game, make sure to always check every single bush, because there will be enemies camping in the bush, waiting to kill your mage and marksman. And if your mage and marksman are dead, then your team will surely lose the team fight, so make sure to check every bush during the late game. And when your team is taking the Lord, make sure to hide in the bush, so that if the enemies come to contest the Lord, you will be able to catch them off guard with your second skill and ultimate combo, and possibly wiping them out. That's all for today. I usually try my best to make my video as short as possible, but it's very hard to fit all the details in a single video without making the video long, so I will end the video here. So, what do you think about Tigreal? Make sure to let me know your thoughts in the comments, and make sure to like the video, and also consider subscribing to my channel for more videos like this. Thank you for watching.